live, but last time we did this, I looked like an alien on screen for about 30 seconds. So we're going to give it a second to stabilize. Hope everybody's doing good out there tonight. Everybody on Twitter, on YouTube, appreciate you guys joining us. And I just want to say, welcome to the Hangout. We're gonna kind of go live here for a second. We got our buddy Sam Holman from Wisconsin Sports Heroics. We got Jacob from Packernet Podcast. And we're just going to kind of touch on camp today, give you a little update on the fly here. There's really not much structure at all, but just wanted to, like I said, kind of talk about what's going on. But Sam, what's your day been like today, man?
It's been going well. I've been working on a new piece for Wisconsin Sports Heroics about a blitz that Joe Barry rolled out on Family Night. So kind of getting into the details of that and kind of breaking it down is pretty fun. I'm looking forward to putting that out.
I like it. A little teaser there. I like it. I'm digging it. What about you, Jacob? What you been doing today? You've been running all over the place, ain't you?
Man, I've been fighting the tech gods and the internet demons and the Comcast conglomerate, but I've got them beat. I figured it out. Apparently, you guys can see me, so
there you go.
I figured it out.
Well, let's do this. Obviously, this is sharing on Sam's page too. Everything looks good there, right, Sam? So we're good to go. Let's do this. Let's pull up a couple tweets here and just kind of get updated on what happened today. I'm going to share this screen. So right here, you got Rob Demoski on Twitter. He said the Packer roster moves are official. They signed safety Micah Abernathy and running back Dexter Williams. They also released wide receiver Osiris Mitchell and long snapper Stephen Wordle. And I know Jacob's probably going to take a little victory lap here, because the other day I said, I don't know, man, I'd probably take Wordle over Coco at this point. He's a little bit more experienced, and lo and behold, I mean, the podcast hadn't even uploaded yet, and Wordle's gone, right? But I know they worked out some long snappers too. It sounds like at least one, from what I understand, but they didn't get signed yet. What do you guys think about those signings, man? Do you think Dexter Williams can take over that number 3 spot, or is this just a camp body? What do you think, Sam?
I'm kind of the opinion that Dexter is just a camp body. I mean, they kind of already tried out what he could do. It feels like they're just bringing him in, so he can contribute quickly, right? He already kind of knows the playbook. He can just get in there, provide them with another body for the preseason. I think that, Kylan Hill and some of those other guys, even Tyler Goodson, probably have a leg up on him.
Gotcha. What about you, Jacob? You think he's got a shot or no?
I mean,
what's your words too? Ryan's listening to this. All right?
I was going to say, yeah, obviously Ryan is so happy he gets to make his Dexter mac and cheese or whatever it was that was in his cookbook. I don't want to sit here and say that they see nothing or no prospect in him. Otherwise, they wouldn't bring him in. But it is more shocking to me that I thought they were very established with Baylor, with Goodson, even with Taylor, and a few of the other guys, that it's odd to me that they would bring him in. I would have thought that maybe they would have brought in a wide receiver or some offensive linemen more. And I think they actually did work out a few other guys in those positions. But I like Dexter Williams. We were talking about how he's a goody pick from 2019. So if it's possible that we could come around and he could come back and have actually any sort of career with us, it'd be cool. It'd be awesome. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a big Notre Dame guy. I love the traditional ties that Notre Dame has to Green Bay, and obviously with Curly Lambeau playing for Newt Rockne. And I remember when I became a Packer fan, I believe it was his name Tony Fisher. Am I thinking right?
Yeah,
that was the running back.
Number 40.
Yeah, I was actually my very first game, Packers Bears. Watched him score a touchdown on a little swing pass in the corner of the end zone there, where we were sitting in the corner of the end zone. Really cool story. Let me share this with you guys. This was awesome. Our first game, right? We're at Lambeau. It's hilarious. We're already off script, but I'm going to say it anyway. So first game at Lambeau, and I have lightened up a lot. The way I was raised, I was very, very, I was wound tighter than the nuts on a bridge, man. I'm telling you, I was just, anyway, we get there, and you're kind of raised to expect people to try to take from you and just do stupid stuff. You expect the worst. That's just kind of how we were raised. So I get to Lambeau, and me and my wife are sitting there. At the time, we're just dating. And these guys came up to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to switch seats with us?" And I'm like, all right, here we go. Somebody's already going to try to cheat me out of something here, whatever. And I kind of told them nicely, no, I'm not interested. Go on. And they said, it's actually closer to the field. If you'll look down there. And these two women waved, said our wives, we couldn't get tickets together, but if we switch seats or whatever, then we could sit together. And we were like, you know what? All right, yeah, let's do it. So we switched with it. And I told him before I walked off, I was like, listen, dude, if I go down here and these tickets ain't legit, I know exactly where you're at. I will be right back, I promise.
You're getting the
And
roadhouse.
sure enough, we go down there, bro, and we sit down, and we sit next to this little old couple. And long story short, he was at the Ice Bowl with his grandfather. And he sat there the entire pregame and just told me story after story about the Packers, and how long he's been there, how long they've been season ticket holders. By the end of the game, his wife and my wife were hugging, they were celebrating. It was the cool. It could not have went any better. But I'll never forget that. That was the same game where Tony Fisher scored that touchdown. But I love it. It's the little things, man, that made that trip so good. The other thing that stands out was there was a concession stand. Or a vendor, right? Walking around selling food. And he had a Chicago Bears stuffed animal tied to his ankle. So he drug it all over the stadium carrying those hot dogs, right? It was awesome, man. It was just a really cool rivalry. But anyway, I just thought that was cool. All right, let's go on to the next tweet here. This was Rob Domofsky. Tweeted this out earlier this morning. He said, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst wouldn't say whether David Bakhtiari or Elton Jenkins would remain on the PUP to start the season and therefore miss the first 4 games. But he did say, quote, they're both doing really well. Both have a shot to play early this season. Tell me, guys, what do you think? It's a very blanket statement, right? I mean, early, like I was telling Sam off the air, early could be week 5, right? So do you think Bach has a shot to start week 1? And we talked about this the other day with Tunyon's ACL, Sam. Let me start with that. When it comes to Elton's, how long has it been since Elton? Was that the one we were talking about, 9 months or?
Yeah. I think the recovery time for athletes, from what I remember, is like 8 to 12 months. I'm not sure. Elton injured his ACL against the Vikings in the first game in Minneapolis. I can't remember exactly when that was. I want to say like October, maybe into November, somewhere in there. Because I think it was after the Cardinals game where Tunyon injured his ACL, and so yeah, it'd kind of be coming up on a similar time frame, maybe a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance. Obviously, it'd be amazing if he could come back to the beginning of the season. I'm not gonna place any money on it yet, but I think there is a chance.
Yeah. And obviously, we're not going to roll them out there against the Niners tomorrow, right, Jacob? But what do you think, man? Do you think we get those 2 guys back for week 1? Is there a shot there? Or how you feeling, man? Because it's funny. We've talked about this several times, but the closer you get to the season, it's like, okay, is this legit? Like, are we any closer yet?
Mm-hmm. Man, honestly, I hope so, because I started camp off being pretty confident that our backups could hold their own. We saw what they did last year when in certain situations. I thought that getting Myers back would help us, but now I just feel like we still are patching it together, and we're really, reading between the lines, you see the stuff that Rodgers says, little comments. You even hear what the coaching says, where they're not opposed to bringing in veterans. To me, that says like, nah, we're not great. I would like if they both are there week 1, again, I have no problems. I got no worries, but I don't see that happening, unfortunately, at this moment, just the lack of time and the whole schedule. And we saw what happened to Bakhtiari multiple times when we forced this guy, back too quickly. And we're at the point now where it's his career. It's not just the next season we're talking about. I think we're talking about his career. If he messes this up again and he has another year where he can't work, I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous. I'll be honest. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, for me, I kind of feel like if he doesn't play this year, he's done. Whether they cut him
Almost,
or
at least with the Packers, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously he just got married. Probably made enough money to be set for life if he's smart with it. I'm sure he was. The only thing I've ever seen him spend money on, as far as in the social media eye, is just chugging those beers down at the Buck games, right? Yeah, and the golf cart. Yeah. I wonder if he and Rodgers have any business ventures together, and he could write that off on his taxes. That's the first thing I thought. If he could pull that off. But anyway, all right. Next tweet. This comes in from Andy Herman, and he said, not sure if Preston's getting some extra team rest off today, but Garvin's been with the ones. Rodgers fools everyone with a read option for a nice gain. Didn't see that one coming. All right, so I want to focus on this first part right here, guys. Talking about Jonathan Garvin. To me, it seems like Jonathan Garvin has had an excellent camp, right? I think he's in that number 3 spot right now as far as, backup edge defender. Sam, do you see any other edge defender winning that backup role there? Because you're going to see a heavy rotation of that. You know how these guys get banged up, throughout the year, and they may be out just a handful of plays, and it might just be to spell one of those guys, right? And, of course, you've seen Kenny Clark probably playing a little defensive end. We could see that being a possibility at times, depending on what kind of front they want to show. But what do you think, man? Is Garvin the number 3 guy right now?
I think so. I've always kind of, similar to you, I've always kind of been a Garvin fan. I think he just needs to figure stuff out and be more consistent, but he's shown some really interesting tools. He's a big guy. He's got some length. As for who else could compete with him, I mean, in past practices, we've seen Ladarius Hamilton kind of flash some nice stuff. Tipa Nalier had some nice moments last year. Sounds like they're both behind him, or at least not, ahead of him at this point on the depth chart. But yeah, I think one of those 2 guys could maybe compete if they have like a really nice preseason. One thing I'm going to be watching right in this upcoming preseason, how Garvin defends the run, how he sets the edge, because I think we've talked about it in the past. That's a big part of how the Packers want to run their defense, is just having really strong defenders up at the point of attack around the offensive line, just to spill those runs out to the secondary and linebackers.
Definitely. What do you think, Jacob?
Man, so when we talked about our 53, when I look back, unless this article is completely wrong, I tried to look at what week 1 going into the opening week 1 our roster looked like, and we had 6 offensive or outside linebackers, and I don't remember exactly who they were. And then I tried to mash that up, and it did make sense that with this year, because I know obviously Preston and Gary, and then either Tipa or Garvin, but then I really do think Hamilton's done a lot, and I don't think that they draft Enigbare. I'm going to keep saying that until I say it wrong.
Down on that hill.
I don't think that they draft Enigbare in the 5th when people are saying he's a 2nd, 3rd, 4th prospect and just write him off. I think that right now what they have is Rashawn Gary, year 1, a bundle of talent, a bunch of raw physical freakness that they just need to mold with their little clay of, coaching and see what they have after year 2. And I don't think that they're willing to let that guy slip. So I don't know. As far as the depth chart goes, I'd love to see Garvin on, the number 3 role. I love Tipa, what he in theory could do, but I just feel like he's so small that I'd like to see Hamilton maybe solidify that 4th string role and see what happens there. Maybe use Tipa as more of a specialist. 3rd down, he seems to be kind of a smaller guy, a more quicker guy. That's where I kind of see that.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier there, Sam. I mean, you got, with a nag bar is how I'm going to say it down here in the South, nag bar. And it's 1 syllable. But so you got, obviously you got Smith, you got Gary, right? You've got Garvin. Let's say it is Tipa, right? And now coming in behind those guys, Hamilton's had a heck of a camp, man. He's really flashed. But you've got a nag bar too. I mean, is there a chance they carry 6? I mean, I don't think they've done that in a long time, have they, Sam? I mean, that you might have to go back to the Dom Capers years since they carried 6 edge defenders.
Yeah, at least the last couple of years, they've really stuck to 5 or around there. I mean, I think they could if they really like what Hamilton and Tipa bring. I don't think they're gonna cut Kingsley. I think he's gonna make the team. Just he was a fairly high pick. I think they really like him. I mean, even talking about him being raw, I think he even showed some stuff at family night. And so, if he can build some stuff in the preseason, we could see him challenge for that number 3 outside linebacker. But yeah, I think it is possible that they keep 6. I think that right now the competition is kind of between Tipa and, you could throw Ramsey in there, Ladarius Hamilton, all those guys.
I was going to say Ramsey, yeah.
Yeah.
He just can't
he
keep
seems
healthy.
to be somebody that, yeah, he's like that. He's that guy that won't die, right? I mean, it seems like year in and year out, he somehow makes it on the roster. What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to cover. It'll come to me here in a minute. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you talk about these fringe players and getting out of the realm of the normality of, like we say, carrying 5 edge defenders, I mean, special teams has really got to come into play too, right? If you're going to keep extra players at certain positions, I can't imagine it wouldn't be, corner or safety. just for those special teams purposes. And Rico Gafford, man, I'm about ready to buy a jersey. That dude, he's in my camp hero. I just love his versatility, and he just seems to I don't know, show up every practice. So, all right, let's move on to the next tweet here. This came in from Rob Domofsky, and he said LaFleur pulled aside a big group after practice that appears to be those who won't play at San Francisco, meaning tomorrow. Rodgers, Dillon, Jones, Cobb, Lazard, Watkins, Jenkins, Bakhtiari, Lewis, Tunyon, Crosby, Alexander Stokes, Douglas, Gary, Campbell, Amos, Savage, Clark, Reed, Lowry, and Smith. So essentially, they're not going to play any starters whatsoever in this San Fran game. And this is very interesting to me because you're hearing, rumors, rumbles that Trey Lance is going to play, right? I mean, he's got to get on the football field at some point. We talked about offline there that, my gosh, I mean, the dude hasn't played a meaningful snap in so long other than them putting him in around the goal line and looking to try to run it in, right? So I know coming out of 49ers camp, I've been studying a little bit for the pod tomorrow to kind of preview this matchup. He's been as up and down as anybody. I mean, one day Trey Lance is the second coming of John Elway. The next day completed 4 of 25 passes. And it's like, what am I even watching here? So with that being said, all the starters out tomorrow, what would you say is the one or two positions that you're looking to kind of watch, Sam, in tomorrow's game? I mean, you got an opportunity to see the backups. These guys are fighting for roster spots. What's maybe one or two that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cheating because I think he might be the only starter who plays, but Quay Walker, I'm really be interested to see, how much he plays, how he looks. Obviously, Trey Lance is super athletic. Maybe they use him as a QB spy, let him show off his athleticism a little bit. Other than that, I mean, we talked about the backup edge rushers. I'm really hoping Devonte Wyatt plays because it sounds like he was held out of practice. They were evaluating for him for a concussion today. So hopefully he's good to go. I would really love to see him on the field. And I feel like I'm just sticking on defense here. That's kind of my brand, but the safeties, I'm really intrigued by how the competition shakes out. Vernon Scott, Sean Davis, Dallin Levitt. I mean, even Micah Abernathy you can throw in there, who they just recently signed. I'm really interested to see, who can stand out. Sounds like both Scott and Davis were having really good days earlier today, and so let's see if they can build on that.
Yeah, we're sure going to see that tomorrow. I mean, they're going to be the starting safeties, right? You're going to have both of them playing there because they play obviously different safety positions. That's probably another thing that came into play. I mean, when you look at the depth chart a little bit thin at safety, they needed to get another body in. That's kind of what I think that signing was about today. But what do you think, Jacob, man? I know we're going to be doing the post-game show tomorrow night, but what certain position groups are you looking to watch tomorrow during the game? I'm sorry, Friday.
I was going to say, I was like, man, my schedule's messed up. Since Sam kind of covered the defense and very well, I would have to say it has to be for me running back right away. Who's the guy that they first put in there with Love? Watch to see how they do the pass, blitz pickup, how they do end arounds, how they do all sorts of weird things that they like to use are two different, you have a Dillon type back and then you have the Jones type back. And I want to see how these backs compare to those two, if they're a hybrid of the two, what they do in the passing game, how they pick up blitzes. And then I want to see our tight end group because I have no freaking idea what they're thinking. I have an idea what they're thinking, but I don't quite know how it's going to come together in the end. I don't know if Tyler Davis is going to be a cap hazard, if they like him so much that, I can't see them ever getting rid of DeGuara, obviously Tunyon or Mercedes, but I don't also see them ever getting rid of Daphne. So I don't understand where that group fits. I've seen, Daphne making like a turnaround one-hand grab, and granted it was pretty much slung right into his breadbasket there, but he still showed the ability to track the ball, receive, and then turn upfield and go. So that, and then obviously the offensive line. I want to see what they do. San Francisco, even if it's their backups, I have to believe that they have a pretty good squad. They usually do. So we'll see how that works. And hopefully Love can show that he deserves to be still on our squad, still having some hype. I don't want to, I think he's had a good camp. He's had some kind of a few steps back, but I think he's taken more steps forward. So
I agree. And that's kind of how the quarterback position works, right? There's never Yeah, he just kind of stayed where he's at. It's one day he had a great day, the next day he had a horrible day. There's nothing
Well,
really.
and if our defense is as good as they have been saying on, you know what I mean? Like, then
Yeah.
maybe we should cut our guys on offense a little slack. Maybe Jordan Love is actually really good going against one of the best defenses right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
let's see how that works.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch Love play. I mean, obviously, it's just Love and Etling, so I would imagine Love's at least going to play the first half, right? I mean, are they going to put Etling in for 3 quarters? I don't see that. So that's going to be exciting to see how he gels. And Romeo Dobbs, man, I want to see a healthy dose of him. I really do. I want to see what he can do. Obviously, it's they may play some of the starting defense, but I can't imagine you're going to see Bosa and those guys out there, So the offensive line is another story. Let's just go right down the line. You talked about Jordan Love. Let's talk about the running backs. I mean, when they kick off Friday night, I'm going to be looking at Goodson and Baylor, because I feel like those are the 2 guys that are fighting for that 3rd spot right now, unless Dexter comes in and he's just, phenomenal, right? But it does kind of feel like Taylor's the odd man out there, Also,
it's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like he went just immediately.
Yeah.
The thing that comes to mind for me, Jacob, first of all, toward the end of the year last year, I thought he played well. I thought he performed well. I mean, I felt pretty confident. Like anytime he did get the ball, it was like I thought he did good things. But at the same time, when you've got players that can do the type of things that Aaron Jones does, nowhere near that level. But I mean, I think the thing that people don't talk about enough is it changes your whole approach to play calling when you don't have that versatile back that you probably remove 5% of your playbook from plays that's pre-snap motion that's normally Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones is out and Taylor is your 3rd back, you're kind of screwed on that angle of the game plan. I don't know, it just kind of felt like that to me. At the same time, there in that playoff game when A.J. Dillon did go out, a lot of people forget that, with A.J. Dillon getting hurt there in the 49ers playoff game, that really changed the whole dynamic, of how the offense was going to operate. You want to pound that guy, you know what I'm saying? Especially in the cold weather. But, so, and then at wide receiver, like we said, Romeo Dobbs, I want to see what he does tomorrow. Samori Toure is another one. I think I'm the only person that thinks he's got a shot at making the active roster. But, I mean, what he did at Family Night, it was strong.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I like him.
No, I mean, that's one of my situations or one of my scenarios in my head was that for whatever reason, somehow Watkins doesn't make it. And Samori Toure was so, the guy just looks like he's ready. And when you looked at the draft kind of thing, all the knocks were on Christian Watson not having, that top end school. But then when I looked at Romeo Dobbs and when I looked at Samori Toure, both of their things were like, they're fully developed. They can run every route on the tree. They've done return stuff. And with like Toure, he earned his way up. He was at a small school and then he had to get over to Nebraska. And they were both considered very, very, very good deep threat guys, which they've shown. I think like that one play where Toure had to turn completely around, adjust to the ball, find it, track it, and then still got his feet in as he dove down. I mean, that looked impressive. And like I said, I'm a Winfrey guy, and I haven't heard anything about Watkins other than he catches a ball when he's wide open and he just kind of stick figure runs away. And it's like, I don't know if we need any more people than that. I think we have Lazard locked down. I think Cobb's locked down. So I could see a situation where possibly Watkins is the odd man out. Like you said, $50,000 to come and see a guy. Okay. I'll spend that.
Right. Absolutely. Here's another tweet. So we got Matt Schneidman. He said, another good line from Jair Alexander on Romeo Dobbs that didn't make my story today. I haven't been able to go against him the whole camp. So the other day I was like, hold on now. You've got to go against the best before you can celebrate when you get a touchdown. So Jair out there kind of checking the young wide receiver. And also I think Aaron Rodgers said something to Jair. Did you guys read that too? That Rodgers made a comment to Jair? I think it was something along the lines of stay away from my rookie because he was jawing with him. So he seems to have taken Romeo Dobbs under his wing a little bit. But I think the story there, though, is Jair is he's a camp bully. I mean, it sounds like that dude is all over the place, and he's making sure his teammates know, listen, because there was one point, I think it was yesterday maybe, where he went off on Rasul Douglas, right? Where he got really. Did you read that too, Sam? Did you hear about that? Where I think he got in Rasul's face a little bit and was trying to amp him up. I mean, this guy,
Jair was?
yeah,
I don't remember that specifically, but I might have
believe-
missed it.
I believe I read that in a tweet, but nonetheless, the guy's just been all over the place. I mean, Romeo Dobbs' own camp, and it's like, okay, they get one shot at each other, and it's like, all right, here comes the alpha in the room, right? I'm so glad Jair's a Packer, but
Did you
what are
did
we
you
gonna
see that?
expect from Jair and these DBs, Jacob? I mean, and I definitely want to hear Sam's take on this too. But what do you think this year, man? I mean, is it going to be as good as we think it is?
I really think so. I do. I mean,
Feels like it.
Jair Stokes is, I think, going to be one of the best second-year players in the league this year. And Rasul has a chip on his shoulder that he's still, even though he got a contract, I still think he's ready to become. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if he's a slot guy, and I don't know if they're going to end up using Jair more in the slot, because it just seems like Rasul probably more should be on the outside to me. I don't know. I don't know his game well enough to be able to necessarily say that, but. Real quick, one other thing that I thought was awesome. Apparently today was the first fight of camp, and Rashawn Gary was the one that went in between the two guys and was like, get away. I love the energy, but get away from each other. And also real quick, if you guys haven't watched Hard Knocks yet, I just watched it before we started the first season. I'm sorry. I do like Dan Campbell, and now I miss Jamal Williams. So
yeah.
I
said
Jamal
Jamal
comes in.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call in to Packer After Dark because I feel like it'd be a great question for Ryan. Is would you like to see a Packers? What do you call it? What's the stupid show called that I just talked about?
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks. I don't think I would. I mean, I would love to see it, but at the same time, I don't want that drama and all that people puffing themselves up to get on camera. You know.
Yeah, the thing, I'm a geek, man. When I watch Hard Knocks or I watch what's the end season one that Amazon did? What was that one called, Sam? Do you remember?
All or Nothing, I
Yeah,
think.
All or Nothing. Dude, I find myself they're focused on the drama of the situation, the moment, and I find myself looking at the offices in the background, like, oh man, look at that draft board back there. Dude, look at the like I'm just weird like that. Just the facilities, right? But yeah, no, I mean with Jair, what do you Sam, there was a lot of talk in the offseason. He's going to play slot. He's going to play that star position. We'll tie this right into the Detroit Lions. I read earlier this year that the nickel defense was actually created by a defensive line or a Detroit Lions defensive coach. It was his idea to put the nickel back on the field, and they called that position the star position. And that's where that whole thing kind of emerged. So it's not so much as like, that's something that just came out of nowhere with the LA Rams a few years ago.
Right.
That terminology had been used for a long time. And I've been a Packer fan, a football fan for a long time, and I'd never heard it. But that was a really cool story tied in with the Detroit Lions. But we heard all offseason, Jair is going to play that star position. He's going to move around. He's going to be in the slot. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the vibe I got from Ryan was there's no reason why they would do that, right? To me, it feels like it's not going to happen. Do you agree? I mean, who's going to be playing the slot, do you think? Is it going to be Rasul?
I think that it'll depend on the game plan. I think that Jair will be kind of used as a weapon to mess up what the offense is trying to do, and sometimes that'll mean that he goes into the slot. Like, against the Vikings week 1, I think he could shadow Justin Jefferson around, if he goes into the slot. Same with Cooper Kupp on the Rams, he could shadow him. I think that from what it sounds like, Rasul has been taking a ton of snaps at the nickelback position. Then that may just be, he's never done that before, never been the nickel, and so he needs to have some extra experience there to pick up what he needs to know. But still, I think it sounds like on, just excluding game plan, excluding opponent, it sounds like Rasul is going to be kind of their base nickel guy.
Gotcha. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, the way that he played the ball last year, I think it really does. So, that's going to be kind of cool to see how that unfolds. As far as, going into the game, is there anything else you guys want to cover before we get out of here? Is there anything, or even, from camp today, did anything stand out to you guys that you want to chat about? Sam, you go first. If anything come to mind?
Not really anything from camp. I just want to say, the 49ers, I kind of think that we might get blown out. I don't want to be a downer just because I think they're going to be playing more of their starters. Their defensive line is amazing, even the backups, and our offensive line, is a little bit of a question. And so just prepare for that. One other thing actually that I've been thinking about, just in connection with, we talked earlier about Jordan Love's, up and down, performances. Even Trey Lance has kind of had the same thing. I think that sometimes we put too much weight on training camp interceptions and training camp struggles, especially for these young quarterbacks, because, Jordan Love, Trey Lance, they've only played like a couple games the last couple of years in the NFL. And they're still figuring stuff out, right? Like, I'm actually glad that they're making these risky throws, because they're making mistakes that they can learn from, right? They're trying stuff out. They're saying, hey, can I fit this ball into this coverage in this way? Okay, I can't. Let's learn from that, come back and just keep slinging it. I'd rather have this than just have them hear that they're taking checkdowns every single play and not throwing interceptions, but also not pushing the ball downfield.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Jacob?
I know it's a preseason game, and I know that it doesn't really matter that much, but we're going to San Fran, so I'd like to see how we travel. If LaFleur does any sort of weird special thing where we're not there 2 days before, if we're there one day before, if we're there the day of, and then fly back the night. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a very couple of games where I'm pretty sure that because our guys like to maybe go out on the town a couple times. I wonder how he starts the season in preseason with this is how it's going to be kind of thing, and sets the tone for the rest of the season. That's one thing I thought of. The other is if Trey Lance just goes out there and lays a you-know-what, do they then stop the Garoppolo thing from happening? And where along the lines are they in that situation? I don't quite know about his contract, if they've given him rights to go and search out a trade or an acquisition. But I think it'll be interesting, because if he does go out and play and he looks like hot trash against the 2s and 3s, then I think they start sweating a little bit. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, when you talk about you putting a lot of pressure on a person. I mean, the thing he's got going for him is going against the backups, right? But again, are they going to play their starting offensive line? I imagine they have to, because you don't want to get him killed, So it's a unique situation, and everything. It's a recipe for disaster for the Green Bay Packers. I'm with you, Sam. So our very first post game show, we it's gonna be.
I'm pretty sure the Packers are like notoriously, like, we lose almost every single preseason game that we've ever played because our coaches actually want to coach and see our development versus us score touchdowns from our 2s on their 4s.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. So, yeah. Either way, it's going to be a blast, man. Football's back. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Now, there is a game tomorrow night, though, right? Am I thinking right?
There's a couple, I think.
So here's what's crazy. You talked about Trey Lance playing in this game. I didn't realize that the Canton game, the Raiders-Jaguars game, Josh Jacobs played like a couple snaps in that game. Yep. And I have him as one of my running back ones on one of my best ball leagues already that I drafted. So I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's dangerous right there, dude. That's very dangerous. Yeah, I don't know, man. Fantasy talk is when it comes to fantasy football, I'm not a big.
I'm going to make you guys join. You guys are going to join a league, and you have to do it this year.
I'm not a big fantasy football guy.
Doesn't matter.
I love the fact that it's gotten so many people engaged in football that otherwise probably wouldn't be. I think it's pulled a lot of college football fans over too that otherwise are just diehard college fans. But it's I gotta be in the fantasy league this year, and they enjoy it. So, yeah. What about you, Sam? Are you a fantasy football guy?
I've been getting into it the last couple of years. Last year I actually did my first fantasy football league with the Packers Without Borders guys. So I was able to.
We should get them in on this. Let's go.
Yeah, I was able to get runner up in that league, so I was pretty happy with that. But been getting in some more leagues this year as well.
Nice.
I think. So can I get you guys on camera real quick saying that you'll join my league? It's a PPR league. We're going to try to get 12 of us, as many Packernet podcast hosts as we can, and then we could reach out to Packers Without Borders or some of the other guys. I think it'd be great if we could get Ramage or one of those. That'd be awesome.
What's hilarious is you say PPR and all this stuff, and it's like Chinese. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's points per reception. It's super easy.
PPR. Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, all caught up. So
That's like Brett Favre learning what nickel defense is. What's
Yeah.
nickel defense? Why don't they just say that?
it was awesome, man. It was, nickel. It said, it just means, 5 BBs. 5 is nickel, 5 BBs. Who cares?
Why
That's
don't
what
they just say that?
God, I miss that era of football, but at the same time, I love how everything has become so detail oriented. Not that it wasn't back then, but today with the technology and all that, man, it's gonna be a blast. So this fantasy league, Jacob, that you're drafting me to, I feel like I'm signing up for war or something here. Like we're gonna draft the lineup, right? We're gonna draft the rosters. You don't have to set a lineup after that. Am I understanding correctly, or did you change your mind on that?
Well, that was the plan, but the problem is
I knew it. You changed your mind.
The problem is that there's not really a great website out there that you could just have a televised draft where everybody can get in for a best ball draft. Because that's the big thing. We'd like to use Restream, maybe have the 12 of us on like a Brady Bunch style looking screen, give us each 60 seconds to pick your player. That was my vision for it and what I thought would be the easiest for you guys, because then you can, you draft, a team and you don't have to worry about waivers, starts and sits. You don't have to worry about injuries. What you got is what you did. So that's what it was. But going forward, there's a website called Sleeper, and there's also a couple websites that Tony, who's going to be possibly co-hosting, as well as Justin from our graphics department. We've got a couple other toes in the water with some possible sponsors. So if they end up being our sponsors, we'll probably try to use them for everything and anything we can do. A lot of that would be prop bets and stuff like that. But that being said, I think it'd be just fun if we got everybody together, did a draft. Don't take ourselves too seriously, but then everybody's show has content, because if you win that day, you can talk smack to Clayton, you can talk smack to JJ, you can talk smack to Sam, to Jake, to Mason, to all these guys, and you can just be like, how's that going this week? Just for 2 seconds on your show, and then go back to whatever you do. So I thought it'd be fun. And then I thought what would be better is if we maybe somehow got a donate. I'm still working it out in my head, but if we maybe played for charity or did donations or did a giveaway, something along those lines, where it wasn't about us, it's about us making content, and then the eventual prize goes to our fans or to the listeners. So
I think that's a great idea, man. That would be really cool. Maybe I know one of the things we're gonna be doing another giveaway soon, and for anybody who's listening to this later or now, first of all, Brett, Brett says, "Sup, boys?" Yeah, what's up, Brett? Thanks for joining us, man. I think that one of the things we're going to do is another giveaway. As soon as we give away our Monday Night Football tickets, we should be announcing that. I think we're going to do it if Ryan does a watch party for the Packers preseason game. We may give it away during it. If not, we may do it in the post-game show. But nonetheless, we're going to pick a winner this week. Man, there were some heavy hitters in there. Oh, my goodness. I got all of the entries entered. I think it was 540 total entries, right? But there's a couple of guys that made $500 donations to that GoFundMe and several $150. I mean, there's a ton of it. Was just, I was looking at like, man, these guys have really got it stacked in their favor. So we're going to spin the wheel live on the air and give that ticket away, that indoor club seat. It's going to be fun. But after that, we're going to do another giveaway. And I think it's cool to be able to attach it to a GoFundMe and help someone. Just, so
that's what I was
thinking. The whole team, let's kind of keep our, eyes and ears open. Okay, is there anything out there that say, hey, if you find a GoFundMe, like, hey, this person needs help, raising money for this, then maybe we do a giveaway, similar to that, but it got out of hand quick with the donation. I was like, oh my gosh, I literally, it was like a full-time job trying to keep up with all the names. It was cool though. It was a really good problem to have. But what I'm going to do with the fantasy league, though, Jacob, since you crawfished on me, and now I've got to manage a roster, I'm going to pick a listener, and I'm going to do some scouting. I'm going to do some. This is the Mark Murphy, Brian Gutekunst's hire of Matt LaFleur here. I'm going to find the best fantasy football manager.
That's a great opportunity for each host. You could just farm it out.
Hey, I'm telling you, dude. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be Jerry Jones. I'm going to say I'm Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to have somebody else run it for me, man. And I'll just be the owner in the background, just kind of hanging out and occasionally poking my nose in there and screwing something up, probably, right? Whoever decides to run my team, I can't have the password because I'll have, 2 or 3 Michelob Ultras one night, get just enough soused to get in there and screw the lineup up, right? So that'll happen. But anyway, is there anything you guys want to share before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining us. Like I said, it's a blast always getting on here talking ball, and appreciate, like I said, Brett. Thanks for dropping by, bro. And we'll do more of these, especially as the season goes along. We went a little bit longer than we expected, but Jacob, I guess he felt like it was necessary to share the news live on the air here that he did trick me into going into a normal fantasy football league. So, hey,
Sam too. He's word is bond.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? That's the way it works. You gotta do what you gotta do. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. We really appreciate it. We'll be back soon. And again, this is, like I said, Sam from Wisconsin Sports Heroics, Jacob from Packernet Podcast. He's going to be doing a fantasy football podcast here real soon. Definitely keep your eyes and ears to the trail for that for sure. And we'll be back tomorrow with Packers Total Access. And yeah, everybody have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.